Comics for Squares.
Comics for Squares.
Yeah.
I mean, chef's kiss to the reckless employee who described what we do that way. It is such a bullseye.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal.
Dal. Dal.
W. Dal Bush.
Now, Dal, I don't have to tell you this as someone who pays attention to dates and anniversaries and knows exactly how long, say, everybody's worked for us, the day they started.
Yeah, of course.
All that kind of stuff.
I'm
minutiae,
notorious
the detail.
for it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So not this episode, but the next episode we record will be right around the store's 16th anniversary.
Correct.
Sweet
16
years. This store can drive. Well, not yet, but it's eligible to take a driving test.
Correct.
I myself have not taken it out on any test drives. I don't know if you've done any with it.
Yeah, St. Scholastica parking lot in Woodridge.
Oh, nice.
That's where I learned to drive, so you know.
You just want to take it back home?
Yeah.
You should have swung by the Hidsdale South parking lot as well.
Sorry.
Do a little twofer. But in that time, we have been located entirely at 1845 Northwestern in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago, in the Bucktown Station building.
Yes.
And when that building was built, it was condos and then retail at the bottom. As a refresher for people who may not have been, as I open my nasal passages a little more, who haven't been with us this entire time, when the building was built, the retail on the bottom was designed to be two spaces. One, the space we exist in now, not counting Sidekicks.
The South storefront.
And two, I guess, 1F, since we were 2R.
I don't even want to get into the 2R thing. I'm just going to say the South storefront, which is what we're in, and then a North storefront.
Which currently is an ATM store.
All the way at the north, yeah.
The Black River Barbershop.
Right. Just under that.
And Sidekicks.
Just under that.
All three of those were one spot.
Yes.
That the then owner of the property was hoping to rent to like a doctor's office or something.
I think the ones that I remember him talking about were like coffee shop, pizza place, stuff like that.
Well,
even the pizza place was like, I don't know if there's venting for that. I don't know where that would
there
go.
Definitely wasn't, because in the ensuing years, a pizza place wanted to move in and didn't because of how much reconstruction would have to be done specifically for the venting of the ovens.
Yep.
Now, I remember him specifically saying a doctor's office because he wouldn't guarantee us parking, specifically because what if they need the extra parking for patients at a doctor's office?
Okay.
So that never materialized, and they wound up dividing it because they were getting the flagship
United States location
of Cricket Mobile.
No, it wasn't Cricket Mobile. It was Mr. Payday Loans or whatever.
No, it was Cricket first.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Well, it was Cricket where maybe I'm remembering this wrong. But
You're remembering it wrong.
So
Cricket was on the corner.
Okay.
Because his whole deal was it's going to be Chicago's flagship Cricket location.
Okay.
At a point where crickets were popping up everywhere like crickets.
Yes. Yeah, it was a lot. It was when...
And it was a tiny little...
Because there were a bunch of those, like, sub-carrier phone networks where it was very, like, pay-as-you-go, budget models. Everything was as cheap as it could possibly be.
And he was so excited that he did all this construction to break it down into 3 separate spots. So Cricket designed that corner spot for themselves.
Okay.
And they were responsible for it. It didn't last very long at all. Then it
No.
became Mr. Payday Loans.
Yes, which was like an Australian payday loan company or something.
Yeah. And I specifically remember going to the grand opening of Mr. Payday Loans.
Yeah.
They had such an elaborate setup with their mascot, who was like a bundle of cash.
Okay.
Somebody in a giant bundle of cash outfit. But they had a full spread.
Yeah.
It was a Friday morning, so I went in and had breakfast
Mhm.
and champagne there before I went to open the store.
Nice.
And then there was the
Like the middle section became a different cell phone store, right?
Yeah.
Like, or was it just a cell phone store? No, it was Boost Mobile.
it was Boost Mobile.
Yeah, Boost Mobile.
And then they would get robbed frequently
Yes.
because they were a cash-only business,
Uh-huh.
which I thought was incredibly weird for a store that sold phones as well as you could pay your bill there and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then it briefly turned into
Well,
a-
before that happened, I think the Mr. Payday Loans became the ATM spot.
it was vacant for a while.
It was, but like I think
Yeah.
before.
No.
I'm forgetting
Yeah,
a tenant.
You're forgetting
I'm
a huge tenant. Yes.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So then
So yeah, it became like a gift
a
card,
gift card store.
like
or
a place where you could sell your gift cards.
Yeah.
So like if you had $50 on a gift card for someplace, you could sell it to them for like $30 or something.
And when they rebranded, they aped all of our colors.
it was a lot of red.
They were very red and white,
Yeah.
which was unexpected and annoying.
Mhm.
And we would frequently get all the mail.
Oh, I mean,
But,
to
yeah.
this day, we get people who are coming in who are like Boost Mobile, and it's like we were never the Boost Mobile.
Yeah.
That's long gone. Long gone.
You're forgetting
I am
the
forgetting.
Cloud Vapor Lounge,
Cloud Vapor Lounge,
the worst neighbors we've had in 16 years.
which is funny because when they started moving in, I remember one of the guys had caught me in the back hallway, mentioned that they were moving in, and he told me, "We're going to be so good for your business."
I don't know if it's the same guy, but it probably was. He came into the store.
Uh-huh.
We had like a later night event,
Mhm.
and he came in, and they were constantly asking to borrow tools and things.
Yep.
Ironically, they wound up stealing a lot of stuff from us.
Mhm.
They stole, I think, a ladder,
Mhm.
a bunch of mops and brooms, constantly stealing bulk toilet paper and paper towels.
Yep. To the point
Um,
where we had to have like a little like caddy,
Yes.
like you would use in college.
Yes.
To take your toilet paper and soap and everything else to the bathroom, because if you left it there, they were going to steal it.
Yep.
Or it would get stolen because of them.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, that
And
only
they-
happened so many
They
times.
cost us the garage as well.
Yeah.
They were such bad neighbors. They moved on.
Uh-huh.
And then then there was a lot of renovation and they were empty for a while.
Yeah. Well, as it turned out, I mean, because the spots were subdivided in such weird ways, there was not a lot of interest in very small, weirdly shaped
Yeah.
locations. Like, what was then, like Boost Mobile was like, it's just like a couple hundred, it's like maybe 300 or 400 square feet. And it's just, there's not much there that you can do with it. People weren't interested in it.
If you look at Challengers, the way it's laid out, the way the doors are,
Mhm.
they had designs on potentially subdividing it into 3 separate spots,
Yeah.
including one which would have been only where the back issues used to be, the new release section,
Yeah.
the tiniest of rooms.
Yeah, there's nothing you could do with that.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't even be a waiting room for any actual business.
Then they did a lot of construction for the ATM store, and then the ATM store basically annexed themselves from the
To be
building.
clear, it's an ATM kiosk location, not a store that sells ATMs.
Yeah,
For
that's
people
fair.
who haven't been to the building, I just want to make that.
It
clear.
is just like basically a lobby for 2 ATMs.
Yeah.
But they've annexed themselves from the building as they have their own HVAC, power, everything else.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess they kind of have to. It's an ATM, right? I'm sure it has different security functions
Sure.
that are
Yeah.
necessary.
But it's very easy for homeless people to spend the night in there. Any magnetic card opens the door.
Okay.
And now we have Black River Barbershop next to us, the best neighbors we've had.
Yeah, for sure.
And
One of the only businesses that have been in the building besides Challengers that Patrick will frequent.
yeah, exactly. I never went to Cloud Vapor Lounge
Nope.
or Boost Mobile or Mr. Payday Loans.
Nope.
I don't even
Only for
use-
breakfast that one time, Mr. Bayless.
Well, I didn't have to pay for that. and I don't use the ATMs.
Yeah, not my bank.
We were also, as a condition of our lease, we're not allowed to have an ATM in our store in case they wanted to put ATMs in the building, which they eventually did. Someone else did.
Yeah.
So the point I was going to get to with talking about the building is that in that 16 years, while we've had so many neighbors, the owners of the building have changed hands numerous times.
Yes.
We used to tell stories of the original owner, Bruce Fogelson, in the past, and his grand designs for luxury condominiums and how many hoops we had to jump through.
Yeah, we
and
really had
tests
to
we had to
prove
go through.
ourselves to him because he thought a comic shop sounded interesting, but it had to be fancy. It had to be something that like fit his vision of like how classy the building was going to be.
Yeah, and we really had to have meetings with him. We had to prove our worth to the community. He used to read to school kids as part of a curriculum, and when he didn't do it, I did it for him. So literally we had to bend over backwards. And it turns out that he was, my words, I'm not quoting anybody else. In fact, I can't say the word I was going to use. I don't know if that's grounds for libel or not.
Who knows?
But there was a lot of issues with the way the building was made, and I frequently refer to it as an updated version of the H.H. Holmes murder house.
Yes.
That's a Chicago legend.
Only if instead of murder, what was being built was
Shoddy construction.
I was going to say not paying employees.
Yeah, builders and whatnot.
Yes.
H.H. Holmes would hire different builders one after the other, so nobody knew what the other people had done.
Mm-hmm.
So there was nobody that had a grand layout or scheme of his house, so he could commit all of his dastardly late 1800 murders, as detailed in Eric Larson's Devil in the White City. Different Eric Larson than
Different
Savage
Eric
Dragon.
Larson, always worth noting.
Eric Larson, yep. And this was just a lower class of builder each time,
Yes.
as evident by the fact that our windows still leak to this day.
Mm-hmm. And always will.
And always will, unless they decide to completely tear them out.
Yeah.
And rebuild them, which they're never, ever, ever going to do.
Nope.
So then he lost the building in court,
To the bank.
and then the new owners were Larimar.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I don't understand if the building has changed hands or the management company has changed hands.
Or just like the structure of the business that owns the building keeps changing.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible that's what it is. Because Larimar owned it and then didn't own it and owns it again, but then they changed their name and it's a different payment portal and everything is very confusing. So it's unclear, like, how this is different in any way.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, Dal, because it's changed back now.
Yep.
And this is just like a few months ago, the contact person we'd had the last several years, whenever there was an issue, whenever the sewage in the trash room would back up, which it does 5 or 6 times a year, and floods the back hallways with sewage.
Yep.
Whenever that would happen, we would talk to a very specific contact person. And then more recently, we got this person doesn't work here anymore. And then there was a slew of new email addresses and maintenance people and people we had to, I finally had to change everything in my ledger as to who we talk to, who we call for this, who we call for that. And then 2 weeks later, it all changes back to Larimar.
Mm-hmm.
And then our contact person is back with that company.
Yep. Or never left. Again, totally unclear.
So you would hit the nail on my subjectical, which is a word, head, when you said payment portal, because that is literally what I was leading up to with all of this.
I appreciate you eating up so much time in this episode with it.
I'm painting a picture with my words.
No, I just mean that like this is good because we don't have a lot of content. So if we can spend 15 minutes talking about the Larimar payment portal, we're in good shape.
I think you misunderstand. I am giving the full business experience in this as a business podcast.
Absolutely.
And what's more business than paying your damn rent?
Nothing more business.
So there's a new payment portal, but it's the old payment portal that we used the time before last, which I had deleted all that information because it was a new company and a new payment portal.
Mhm.
They're like, no, it's the old payment portal. Just sign back in. It didn't work. You can't sign back in. So
Nope.
first of all, we're at the tail end of March and we've never paid March rent. Because at the beginning of March, when Larimar took back over, I had reached out and said, is there a way to pay? And they said, no, our payment portal isn't up yet.
Right.
So a couple weeks later, they're like, hey, the payment portal's up yet. Here you go. It's the exact same old payment portal. Just use all your old logins and everything.
Mhm.
Can't.
Can't.
Error it out every time.
No can do.
So I just thought, well, they'll figure it out. They'll fix it.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
Sure.
today we got like basically the same email as before. Like, hey, the payment portal is up. Here's the link. You have to re-register. Even if you have a previous account, you have to re-register.
Right.
Yeah, let me ask you a question.
Patrick, go.
What does you have to re-register mean to you?
It means I have to create a new password.
Okay. One of the things that I'm unclear of, since it's 2 portals ago,
Uh-huh.
is how we're listed, because the majority of these portals are used for residential addresses.
Oh,
We are a
interesting.
commercial address.
Yeah.
This is the same portal that everybody who's in the apartments above us, and you'll notice I said apartments and not condos.
Yep.
Now they're all apartments.
Yeah.
I don't think they're condos anymore. I don't know if anybody who bought still lives there.
I don't know. I mean, it was a long time ago, and I don't know how many of those they ever sold. Because I got to assume that I'm going to go ahead and take a wild guess and say that the residential units that are above Challengers are probably constructed to the same level of quality
High quality.
as the commercial units are on the ground floor, which is to say probably terrible, to a degree that if you tried to sell them for hundreds of thousands of dollars, you'd probably have tenants who are in that income bracket say, absolutely not.
Well, it's funny you say that, because based off of your cost analysis,
Mhm.
which is what I'm calling what you just did,
Okay.
I recently was looking through all of Larimar's other properties and other sites, and
Uh-huh.
they own a lot of buildings in the neighborhood. In fact,
We do a lot of stuff along Milwaukee.
things just around the corner from us,
Yeah.
along Wabansia,
Yeah.
are all theirs.
Yeah.
And I was looking at layouts, square footage, plans, and whatnot. The apartments above us,
Mhm.
now, a few years back,
Mhm.
when you and I lived in Bucktown,
Right.
well, next door to Bucktown,
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
Block away.
from Bucktown, yeah.
Yeah.
Not from the store, that'd be amazing.
No.
We had a great place with good rent, but the rent kept going up.
Right. As everything in the neighborhood was doing.
The apartments above us,
Mhm.
for less rooms,
Mhm.
can you guess the price? The price. I don't mean like tell me how much they cost. I'm saying
I looked at one point. I think it was like, do you want more than what was being paid for the other? Do you just want a raw number? I'm not sure what kind of answer you want.
an exponential number,
Oh, 50% more?
3 times more.
3 times more?
Yeah.
Or 3 times as much?
Is that the same thing?
No, 3 times more would be like if something is $1,000 and it was 3 times more,
$3,000.
I would think $4,000 because it's 3 times
Oh,
more.
I see. Okay,
3 times as much would be
3 times as much.
3,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an astonishing amount of money.
Yes. I was blown away by, like, it's not like a couple $100 more, $1,000 more. More than double
Yeah, that's insane.
for that building.
Yeah.
So the point is, the portal that they use is for mainly their residents. They don't do a lot of commercial. They're
Right.
only doing commercial now because they bought a building that has commercials on. They are not, you do not go to Larimar looking for commercial spots.
No.
Because of that, I never know how we're in the system because you have to register first name, last name.
Right.
I don't know if it's my name, if it's your name.
Which shouldn't be my name.
It should be Challengers Comics, which is
Yeah.
what I prefer.
Right.
So anyway, with the new, you have to re-register. You go to log in, and it immediately says, hey, you already have an account. Do you want to just use that one? No, I have to re-register.
Right.
So every time I try to re-register, it says, none of that information matches.
Great.
Like, how does it not match? I'm re-registering.
Yeah.
I'm putting in a completely different email address to create a new account.
Yep.
Nope, none of that information matches. And I frequently get texts from Nina next door being like, have you paid rent yet?
Probably having the same.
And I said, no, the portal doesn't work. She's like, yeah, same for me. And then today she's like, oh, they sent an email. I'm like, it still doesn't work. And I even emailed them back to say, what is going on? I can't go in.
Yeah.
In fact, the password we have is the password they gave us last time.
Yeah.
But that's not, that's
Right.
if that even works. So the point is they have created accounts before. Just create an account for us. I'll change whatever I want.
Yeah.
But the point is I still can't pay rent.
That sucks.
Also, they don't take checks. They don't take money orders,
Nope.
which is fine. It's 2024. You shouldn't.
Right.
And I don't, we had to write a check recently. I'm like, running a check?
Yeah, it's very weird.
Oh, yeah, it was for PRH.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So weird. So 16 years in, and the building is still as confusing and bothersome as it's been this entire time.
Pretty much.
Do you feel like Challengers is 16 years old?
I guess. That number doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, people have asked, like, oh, you're going to be doing an anniversary thing? Like, no. At what, 16? No. 5-year increments, I think, at this point. 10, 15, 20, sure, yes. But, like, 16, 17? No, I'm okay.
I mean, they lend themselves to events if we cared, which we don't. But,
No. Sweet 16?
I was going to say a driving one and then a Sweet 17. Make it that way.
Interesting.
There's a baby song called Sweet 17.
Okay.
16 going on 17, but she acts like she's 21.
Isn't it the...
She's always getting in trouble. Got her hands on a loaded gun. I'm talking about Sweet 17.
Isn't that also that she's only 17, or what is it? What was...
Winger, yeah.
Yeah.
17.
So there you go. You
Or
do
Winger
that.
Party. Wait, hold on.
Hold on.
Next year, I will see if I can't get Kip Winger to come out and do a solo acoustic performance. Then we'll do a 17th anniversary
on March
party.
31st?
Yeah.
I'm into it.
It'll be a Monday next year.
Yeah, Challengers is being 16 is like, yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Challengers is 17. Now there's one syllable too many. Challenger 17th. 17th.
Yeah, I guess it works. So no, to answer your question,
17 years ago, what the fuck were they doing?
I guess it does feel like it's been 16 years. Just in terms of like how much the business has changed and how many things that we've done or ways that our way of approaching the store has changed. I mean, when you think about, there was the store, and then there was the Rogues Gallery, and then there was Sidekicks, and then there was a second store, and then there was a pandemic, and then,
Hold on. Everything else in that list are things we did on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Are you blaming us for the pandemic?
I can't rule it out. But yeah, so taken in those terms, like, there is a lot of history there. It's not like everything was exactly the same for 16 years, and it's hard, it feels like it was just yesterday. No, it feels like it's been 16 years. And we've done 16 years worth of stuff, for good or for ill. But no, it does genuinely feel like 16 years. And I don't mean that in like a self-pitying, like, I'm exhausted, I'm old now. No, it's just like, it is 16 years worth of work. Does it feel like it to you, Patrick?
I can never tell. I still feel like we're a new store as far as the geriatric rings of the industry are counted.
Because you're thinking of stores that opened like in the 80s.
Sure.
And we opened, in 2008. So like,
Yeah.
the stores that opened in the 80s that are still around are like, oh my God, impossibly old. I can't believe they're still around. And then, there's us, and it's like, how many stores have opened in Chicago after us? A few.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to recently. Oh, I remember who. About the path of comic book retail in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And since we've opened, the stores that have closed or the stores that have opened and closed,
Mhm.
I think the first one was Evil Squirrel.
Okay.
And I can't do it in order, but
No.
Vigilante Press,
Right.
Variety,
Yeah.
Defiant came and went.
Comic Vault.
Comic Vault, yep, you're right. Defiant was opened after us, but then closed. Yeah, Comic Vault. But since we opened,
Mhm.
there's been both First Aids.
Yes.
There's been Third Coast.
Mhm.
I have no idea the stores that we've never been to, like The Source
Yeah.
or Top Cut, and I'm reaching a little suburban when I do this.
Goblin Market.
Goblin. Well, that was like I was going to get to like the brand newest one,
Okay.
but yeah. So more stores have opened. Brainstorm closed, became Impossible Industries.
Alley Cat opened.
They closed. Alley Cat opened. Yep. How many of those stores have ties to graham crackers?
A lot. I mean, well, here's the thing. Like, some of that is self-selecting because the stores that we're familiar with are people that we either worked with at graham crackers or were aware of working at graham crackers.
Sure.
So, like, our pool of stores that we know are things like First Aid because we knew James and Tom.
Yeah.
I never really met the guy at Alley Cat before he opened Alley Cat, but I knew that he was a graham crackers guy.
Yeah.
So the stores that open outside of that bubble, how
Sure.
would I even know of them?
The last guy to run Brainstorm and then changing it to Impossible Industries was a graham crackers person.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean. Yeah.
Also in that time period, Gmart went away, but was bought by Dark Tower.
Right.
So Dark Tower expanded in that time.
Yes.
So I think more stores have opened than have closed.
I think so. Yeah. Certainly in the last 10 years.
I don't understand. Like I've always said, this is the thing I've said for 16 years now.
Yep.
That the more comic stores in the industry, the better the industry does.
Sure.
That and I use the number 1 million, which is not, it's just a round number. If Challengers is doing $1 million and somebody opens up a store across the street from us, we're not going to be doing $1 million anymore, but the two stores combined will be doing considerably over $1 million.
Right.
Just because if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. And it goes the other way. Like, stores that open are additive to the industry. But when stores go away, it's not like those customers all go to another store. A lot of them just disappear.
Yeah, that's a shocking statistic in the comics industry that if you have, let's say, 200 subscribers at a store and that store closes, I would say half of them just give up.
Yeah, it's something that I know we've talked about a lot over the years, and it's still something that's a little surprising to me, even though I've internalized the idea that a lot of people just leave comics when their store closes, is the number of stores close to us that have shut down or transitioned to a different business or been bought by a different company. And every time it happens, people think oh, Challenger's going to, we're going to pick up those guys or whatever. We had, when Gmart was transitioning to Dark Tower, there are people who are well, they're losing that huge subscription discount. They're probably going to go to another store now. And it's we didn't really pick up anybody from anywhere. When the first time Brainstorm was in trouble, we got people the next day and then they immediately went back. And even then it was 2 or 3 people. It wasn't 50 people suddenly rolled in the door and went, I got to start a subscription.
Yeah.
And when other stores have shut down, from Variety, we've gotten a few people. Hi, Mike and Carol. But we didn't get 50 new subscribers. We didn't get people from Vigilante. We didn't get people from Impossible Industries. We might have.
We got somebody from Vigilante.
A few people here and there for sure. But we never saw the next month, our subscriptions growing by leaps and bounds. Our at the time Diamond Bills weren't ballooning out to account for all of the new subscribers.
They did that one week with the Brainstorm people, and especially all those action figures or statues or whatever.
I don't really remember that, but I remember there being a bunch of people who, like, basically the Monday or whatever before, Monday or Tuesday, were like, I need these books this week. And then a bunch of them just completely burned us because they went back to Brainstorm. Basically, to fill people in, Brainstorm had 1 week had notified their subscribers that they were unable to pay their Diamond bill.
Brainstorm is a store that changed location and ownership frequently in their lifespan.
Yeah. Brainstorm, let me go back a little further. Brainstorm was a combination like comic shop and DVD rental store. Like that was their main business model, was that they were doing DVD rentals. This is pre-Netflix and stuff.
Our good friend James Zark, who did the I Love You But I've Chosen comics, like pulp
the
design,
romance cover one.
yeah, from a couple years ago, who's a Hollywood storyboard artist, I met when he was in the suburbs of Chicago, and then he worked with me downtown, and then he worked for Brainstorm.
Yeah. So Brainstorm they were doing comics, but they were also like a DVD rental place, and they were, more of like the art films and like genre stuff, and it wasn't, trying to be like Blockbuster, which existed at the time, I think. But obviously, as that model became less financially viable, they transitioned more into comics. And they had a week where they weren't able to pay their Diamond bill for whatever reason, and they notified their subscribers like, "Hey, we're not getting books this week." And for a lot of stores, when you do that, that is the beginning of the end. So a bunch of their subscribers had contacted us and said, these are the books I need for the week, and I need to sign up for a subscription. I need to start my polls immediately. And we did everything we could to accommodate them, because regardless of what was going on with Brainstorm, we understand what it's like to be a comics fan, and we want to make that transition as smooth as possible, and we want to help out as much as we can, which was a stupid thing to do because the next week Brainstorm had righted their ship, apparently, financially. So the people who started subscriptions with us and we started ordering books for never came back because they just went back to Brainstorm.
Yep.
I don't like talking about Brainstorm a whole lot because we had found out from people that shopped there that eventually came and shopped at Challengers because of Brainstorm's shifting business model and some other stuff that was going on, that Brainstorm basically was telling all of their customers, or at least this one specific customer, that none of their people should shop at Challengers because Challengers was, and this, I laughed so hard the first time I heard this because of how absurd it was. Challengers was a stealth graham crackers location that was specifically opened up to put Brainstorm out of business.
Yep. They also encouraged people to leave negative reviews on Yelp from us.
Yep. So we got a bunch of a lot of our early social media reviews, Yelp or Foursquare or Google, was
pre-Google.
We're basically like, Challengers isn't that great, but you know who is great? Brainstorm.
Yeah, you should go to Brainstorm instead. They all mention Brainstorm by name.
Yep. So that was all great for our first few years.
So the one specific story that you'd forgotten was one of their people was buying those 12-inch box DC action figures, specifically of the Watchmen characters.
Okay.
And he was very worried he was not going to get those.
Uh-huh.
So he asked us to order all of them, which we did. And then he's like, going back to Brainstorm. So we sat on those forever.
Yeah, for a long, long time.
Until I just gave them to my tattoo artist, Allie.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely remember a few specific, there were weeks of we have these comics piling up, and it's like, oh, not only did these people go back to Brainstorm, they didn't even tell us.
Yep.
They just ghosted us. And so that feeling of I was trying to help you out, and now I got screwed for it. Thank you. Thank you for that. So that was, I don't really have a lot of ill will against anybody else in the comics industry, at least in the Chicago comics retail scene. Their stores we're close with, their stores we don't really know, but I don't begrudge any of them, their business model or their own personal aesthetic. But the Brainstorm stuff felt very combative in a way where I was like, we didn't ask for this. Just the idea of telling people that we were a graham cracker store when graham crackers, and this may still be true to this day, I have no idea, hated us, hated our guts. We were almost literally dead to them. And we have Brainstorm out there telling people, it's just graham crackers trying to put us out of business. Don't shop there. It's like, man, come on. Like, you don't have to like us. You don't have to be friends with us. You certainly do not have to tell your customers to shop with us. But that sort of stuff, like, I have no idea where you would even base that on. Like, that's
I think
just
it's amazing
coming
that
up with stuff.
Graham Crackers was smart enough to open a store that was the exact opposite of their aesthetic and business model in order to disguise the fact that it was actually one of their stores.
Also,
kudos to them. That's a really, like, they were dedicated to achieving that.
Yeah, let me assure you that if Graham Crackers wanted to put another store out of business, they would not be shy about it. If they wanted to.
Yep.
They would just do it. They would just open a store and let the chips fall where they may.
There's rumors of other stores in Chicago that opened to try to put Graham Crackers out of business or a specific location, but that never happened.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've definitely heard stories of, like, there were rumors of different chains in other parts of the country that were going to be opening up in Chicago, and they just never did.
Oh, yeah, you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that era of Brainstorm, and I don't even know who the owners were, and I've never met them, and I never talked to them, and I don't even think they're in the comics industry or have been for like 12 years. But that was the thing that I think I was the most offended by personally in comics. Like, even
because they saw through your plot.
Of course. Even Graham Crackers hating us was a thing of, like, I regret that. I don't think it was warranted. I would like, at some point in my life, for that not to be a thing that gives me stress dreams.
Well, I think at this point, they just don't care about us.
Right, I would
assume so.
assume
And I think that a lot of that early stuff wasn't us, it was me, and you were just dragged along into it.
Maybe, I don't know. Regardless of what the reason was, it never felt fair, but it also was a thing that I would like to clear the air at some point. I would like that to be a thing that rightly or wrongly, I don't have to internalize as a stress. But the Brainstorm thing, I will always be mad about. Like, literally for the rest of my life, I will be mad about the idea that they were telling people that we were put there by another company to put them out of business. Like, that was... It's just completely untrue in a way where I'm there's no version of that that's even close to being accurate.
They weren't with us as we went all over the city looking at neighborhoods that didn't have comic shops and figuring out where the market could be best served.
Yeah.
And they weren't part of any of the discussions or any of the many spots we visited and talked to.
Yeah, this was so long ago, and like, even the guy who had told us this, who was a customer of theirs, and like, I don't think he was making it up, because he was a very good customer of theirs. Like, they burned him in a really specific way that you only
I suddenly remember what you're talking about.
You only get burned like that if you have absolute faith in a store.
Wow.
Like, and they burned him, and it's like,
if
that guy told us that was true.
Wow. I suddenly remember. I don't remember that person's name.
I remember the first name. I don't remember the last name.
I'd forgotten all about that.
Oh, yeah. That stuff I don't really want to talk about in detail on the podcast.
Yeah, because it's someone else's dirty laundry.
One, it's all secondhand.
Yeah.
And two, it was so long ago, I'm sure I'm going to get details wrong.
They burned him so bad that he quit comics.
Yeah. They basically,
they ruined comics for him.
I hate saying this in a way where I'm not ever going to tell people on the podcast what the deal is, but like, they basically broke this guy's heart.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
So anyway, like, that's, as far as like people in the comics industry, like, that's a grudge I will never get over. Like, and there's no one to even hold the grudge against. That store doesn't exist. The people who owned it don't own it, or don't own anything, or I have no idea who they even are. Like, I couldn't even tell you any of their names.
Sure.
That said, my absolute favorite Challenger story in 16 years, and I know this is not like the anniversary podcast or whatever. Do you have any guess what my absolute favorite Challenger story is?
Is it an Artie Philly story?
It is. It is the Artie Philly story.
Oh, no, it's the best.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Artie White.
Yes. It is
we've told it a lot, so people probably already know
Oh my
it.
god, I'll tell it at the drop of a hat because it's so good.
Yeah.
You can tell it this time though.
Okay. This was Artie, lead singer for Ready by Death,
Mhm.
former lead singer of Millhouse.
For a Salt Shed video, wore a Keep Reading Comic shirt.
Yeah. For the Salt Shed 12-string sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've known Artie
Which
for...
a very quick sidebar. We've known Artie for a long time, but somebody had recently come to us and said, "Hey, I was watching a Salt Shed video and a guy was wearing a Challenger shirt." And we're like, I had heard, the guy said that, and in my head I'm like, oh, it's Artie. It's got to be Artie. But Patrick didn't make that connection, so he's like,
I
wow.
misheard the band he said. And I thought he'd said like Against Me or Rise Against or something like that. You got it right away.
Yeah.
I didn't. And I'm like, oh man, this is amazing.
I got to find out who this is.
And I literally had to email that very kind customer later and say, hey, can you remind me of what it was? And he sent me the videos and I'm like, oh, it's Artie.
Oh, it's Artie.
Which, let's be fair, we love Artie.
Oh, Artie's great.
Artie has been on this podcast before. One night he and I got pretty drunk recording this podcast like a decade ago before he was even married. Now he's got 2 kids.
2 kids.
But Artie was he's from the New York hardcore scene, and he had just moved to Chicago. And this was when Reckless Records was around the corner from us on Milwaukee. They're still in Milwaukee, but they're further, because it's Milwaukee. You say
Like
north,
southeast?
south, east, west, whatever.
Southeast?
Closer to downtown,
Yes.
closer to Division.
Yes.
They were just a few blocks from us at this point. And Artie's an avid record guy.
He's a vinyl guy for
So
sure.
he was at Reckless buying some stuff, and as he's at the counter, he said, "Hey, you guys probably know this. What's the closest comic shop to you? To right here?"
Actually, I think it was more like, what's a good comic shop?
Okay.
Yeah.
And the woman who's checking them out says, "Oh, Quimby's. They do a lot of like zines and local stuff, blah blah blah." And he's like, "No, I'm looking for like superhero stuff, Spider-Man and whatnot." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, probably not that." So she turns to another guy in the store and goes, "Hey, what's the I would say closest. That's how I'll say it. What's the closest comic shop to here?" And the guy goes, "Oh, Quimby's." And she goes, "No, Comics for Squares."
Comics for Squares. And the answer was Challengers.
And the answer was Challengers. And he came right to Challengers after that and told us that. We love that story.
I love it. It's
I
my
literally
favorite story.
answered the phone the rest of the day.
Comics for Squares.
Challengers, Comics for Squares. And now Artie
that
is
is going up on the website tonight.
nice.
I'm going to put that on the website.
Artie, even though Artie now lives all the way up in like Rogers Park, he still shops with us. Yeah, great guy. Love that guy.
Comics for Squares.
Still comes to us because he's a square and we're squares.
Yeah.
He had also won a Cliff Chang. Was it Cliff Chang tattoo?
I don't remember.
Well, you're the one who told me because
This wasn't recently.
he won a tattoo at C2E2, and he got a Cliff Chang Galactus or Silver Surfer, Galactus Silver, something like that. I know Cliff Chang was involved in it,
Okay.
and I already got that tattoo. And I remember you telling me the story, like, yeah, I already got a Cliff Chang tattoo, and I'm like, what? Are you serious? That doesn't make sense. He's like, yeah, Big Black. I'm like, I can't see that at all. I was thinking Art Balthazar.
Yep.
You meant Artie.
Yes.
Artie White.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, let's not forget that one Halloween, Artie's wife did the best cosplay we've had in the store.
Yes.
She was the Dennis Hopeless, Javier Rodriguez, Jessica Drew Spider-Woman pregnant.
Yes.
She posed exactly like Spider-Woman did in that cover.
Yep.
It was spot on.
It was good.
Yeah, loved it. But yeah, that's also one of my all-time favorite Challenger stories. Comics for Squares.
Comics for Squares.
Yeah.
I mean, chef's kiss to the reckless employee who described what we do that way. It is such a bullseye. It's so Comics for Squares. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
don't forget we lack that comic shop funk.
I can't fight that description.
Yeah.
Comics for Squares.
I want to point out to people that Dal does this often, and it may go unnoticed. He changes the captions on the two main header images on our website.
I do. I started doing it because I would look at our website and I mean, we refresh certain parts of the website as far as like, what's in the new this week section, what's in the spotlight section. But like the actual like constantly changing around the website isn't really something we do. So I wanted to refresh a bunch of stuff. So I kind of looked at the front page and was like, let's change all of the category pictures for superhero graphic novels, for Marvel single issues, for
Yeah, it's
whatever.
always good to update them and keep them
It's
current.
been like a year. Some of those books don't even come out. But then I also wanted to start the two header images. They're just a carousel. Have little text pieces. You can put a little subcaption. And so I started changing those on like a weekly basis just to make it fresh. And mostly to entertain myself, which is part of the reason Patrick and I do anything in the store is to entertain ourselves.
They're very good,
Thank you.
even if they do cause internal controversy
Controversy.
over whether or not we are in fact a Pedro Pascal store or a Vanessa Kirby store.
More of a Vanessa Kirby store, if I'm being honest.
I mean, look, I don't want to argue with you about this again,
Sure.
but I think we have.
You're not arguing with me. You're making an argument.
I'm contradicting you because I think if you stack up the people who work with us who love Pedro Pascal versus your love for Vanessa Kirby, it seems like it's outweighed.
Okay. A, not a democracy. B, you get one vote for every hour a week you work. That's how I see it.
What if it comes down to the two of us?
But that's the thing. I think you would be 50-50, and I think you'd be a little bit more Vanessa Kirby than Pedro Pascal. Like, what's your Pedro Pascal
I
stuff?
don't mean on that specific topic. I mean, who of us has, between you and I, who is more hours of the week? It's impossible to tell because we both do so much work at home.
Yeah, but I guess you would. I wouldn't count that because it's
Okay.
so. I mean, subjective. Like, what do you consider a full hour of work versus, I answered this email or I did this thing for 20 minutes, but then I watched a video on YouTube or whatever. Like, yeah, that is work we do, but that's not in-store hours. In-store hours are in-store hours.
Okay.
So who works more in-store? Like, I'm trying to think.
It's
So
a tie.
is it a tie? So it's two.
Because I have Saturday and you have Sundays.
Yeah, 2 weekdays. Then you have 2 weekdays. Yeah, I guess it is the same.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if there was one day where it was a little bit more or less.
You're there longer because you get there early to eat breakfast.
Well, and also I'm in the store more on Tuesdays.
True.
But you're still working, so I
Yeah.
still count that. I do. I
have to drive
usually
you, and
open
I
up-
count that as work.
That's hard work, and I appreciate it. Yeah, I usually get there early on Sundays and Mondays, so I can have breakfast and in a little bit of quiet. It used to be when I would walk to work, I would basically get there with breakfast, and we would open the doors at 11. And it was always, especially on Sundays, it was a little bothersome because like people can start coming in almost immediately, and I don't want to be. There were times where I couldn't eat breakfast because it's like too many people came in and there's too much stuff to do. And now if I can get there like 20, 30 minutes early, I can eat breakfast and I can take care of online orders and I can do a few other things. And the store's open at the same time, but no one knows to be there because
Sure.
no one expects the store to be open.
Shall we talk about our reward program?
Hey, let's.
Since we've brainstormed a little bit on
Don't say brainstorm. Patrick.
episodes,
You know how I feel
since
about that.
we've impossible industried some changes
Since we've
on this.
quintessential.
Oh yeah, good old quintessential comics.
Mm.
Oh, we forgot Dwight's. I think Dwight's opened and closed in the suburbs.
I don't think I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, our rewards program, about a year ago, we switched over from a flat discount for pre-ordered items to a store-wide rewards program.
Open to everybody, not just subscribers.
Where anybody who had an account with us, be it in-store or online, could earn points for every purchase, and those points could be redeemed online or in-store for a discount. I think about a month ago on this podcast, we talked about crunching the numbers and basically figuring out that the numbers were bad and that doing the store-wide rewards program was worse off for us than the previous
Subscriber discount.
pre-ordered item discount. And we talked about ways of maybe, I think it was maybe on the podcast, but we talked about specific ways we could kind of do things. And we sat with it and we each thought about it and we each figured out pros and cons. And so basically what's happening is that as of March 31st, that'll be the end of the rewards program as far as the ability to earn points. Can't earn points past March 31st. From April 1st to April 30th, people who have accrued points have the month to spend them, again, either in-store or online. And then starting May 1st, we're moving to a 5% store-wide subscriber discount. That basically means is that anyone who has an active subscription with us, active in this case, we would view as you have to have at least one thing coming out each month. You don't have to have a monthly title that's coming out all the time, but if you have a bunch of different miniseries and they collectively come out once a month for an entire year, you're good. Anyone with an active subscription account with us will get 5% off of their purchases in-store and online. There will be a specific code that we will give to subscriber
Online.
customers that will allow them to put that code in online, whether they're checking out from buying stuff off of the website or if they receive an online invoice from us. You can put the code in the exact same place, exact same way. And that code will only be usable by people who are active subscribers. So even if you found out what the code is, it's going to be real simple because we want people to remember it. You cannot use it unless you have an active subscription account with Challengers.
One of the things about policing the active subscriptions is that we don't actually have to because Managed Comics does it for us.
Correct.
So,
As
for
soon as
example,
you start a subscription account, you start being able to use the discount.
yes, but for example, if you're just down for Saga,
Mhm.
6 months out of the year, you are not an active subscriber because that title becomes inactive from the point that the most recent issue comes out before the next issue is solicited.
Mhm.
Right now, Saga
Sega.
is an inactive subscription.
Correct.
Because nothing has been solicited. There's no new, which blows my mind a little bit. We're coming up to,
They just said it's going to be coming back this summer.
well, I mean, if they plan to get 6 issues out,
There's almost no way they're getting 6 issues out this year.
Yeah.
The soonest they're coming back is July, and that's asking an awful lot of them.
and there's definitely no trade this year.
No.
So the point is,
there is a trade 6x9. They're doing the smaller Invincible
are they really?
YA. Yep. They're going to be doing
Why?
that format. I mean,
It's
DC's
not a YA book.
well, but DC's doing it too. I think there's an
Yeah, I said why to
expectation.
them too.
This is a separate conversation, but there's an expectation that there's a better ability to merchandise some of these graphic novels in places that would not normally stock a full-size graphic novel.
Okay. So it's for a different market.
Correct.
Got
Like
it.
they'll offer them to comic shops, but the expectation is that it will be other places. I think specifically one of the things that's come up a lot is like airport bookstores and that kind of thing.
All I know is the older I get, the worse my eyes get,
Mhm.
and I need things to be a little bit bigger. Not
Yeah.
as big as my sister uses the text on her phone,
That's crazy.
but still,
Yeah, we talked
not
about
smaller.
this a little bit when DC had announced their compact comics format. There are books that I don't mind it, and there's books that would drive me crazy. Fiona Staples art is a thing that I don't know that I want to see small, but Saga doesn't really have a ton of dialogue per page, so I think you can probably get away with it.
okay.
Anyway,
So Saga is right now, this second, considered an inactive subscription.
right.
And if that's
you go
all
to
that's on your
account,
list,
it's on- they're
You
active.
would no longer be an active subscriber.
Correct.
That is the catch. It has to be an active subscription.
Yeah, I don't think people are really going to game the system, but we want to get out in front of it just in case there is a misunderstanding and people think having a subscription to Saga Trades makes them an active subscriber. It does not. It doesn't come out often enough. Active, again, our terminology, active subscription means you have at least one thing coming out each month. I don't even care if it's pre-orders. You can pre-order one graphic novel every month. As long as you're doing it every month, you have an active subscription with us.
But would Managed Comics know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is, and for
but in-
anybody who's currently in the reward program, who's not a subscriber, who feels like they're going to be missing out,
Mhm.
so long as you subscribe, and let's face it, the point of a reward program is to reward people that are shopping with you regularly. And for us, we wanted people to subscribe, to be,
Yeah, and I
to
mean,
commit.
I think we talked about this when we had announced that we were thinking about a replacement for the rewards program. The two things you want a rewards program to do is either A, get people to come in more often, or B, spend more money, hopefully both. It wasn't doing either one. So it's just like the rewards program doesn't work. It was hard to argue in favor of it, even though anecdotally, there's probably one or two people who it's like, I definitely was going there because of this. And it's like, yes, but as
a whole.
as a customer base, this was not happening. We were losing money, like for every one person maybe that was coming in and like, I was getting a graphic novel that I wouldn't ordinarily. we probably had 10 people who were getting a discount, and it's like they were just getting a discount. So we need there to be something where we are getting something is helping our business in order to justify giving a 5%
Isn't that a
discount.
new James Tynan book? Something is helping the business.
That would be great. Yeah.
And for anybody who looks at it and says 5% is no big deal, that's what the reward program was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You are not
It's
losing out. In fact,
Yeah.
you're gaining a little bit because it's an automatic discount on everything.
Yeah.
It's not something that has to build up and have you then cash in.
Right. But that starts May 1st. So starting May 1st, all active subscribers will get an automatic 5% discount when you're checking out online. I'll just go ahead and say it. The code for subscribers to put into the discount code or promo code field when you're checking out on our website is just going to be subscribers.
It's not active yet.
No. So, I mean, you can put that in. It's not going to do anything. And again, even when it is active, starting May 1st, it won't do anything unless you are an active subscriber. But yeah, that'll be starting May 1st.
Is there a length to the amount of characters that a discount code could be?
I've never tried. It's the Joy codes that get generated by Joy are very long. There are a lot of alphanumeric characters.
But like, could we have a discount code that's, I really wish Dad would give me a high five one day?
I don't know. I honestly don't know how many characters it can be.
Don't try that one. That's not active either.
No, never will be. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense to people. We already, today, Thursday when we're recording this, already sent out an email to everybody, not just subscribers, letting them know what was going on with the rewards program. Molly will be sending out another one to everybody on Friday. It's also going to be probably in all of our full store emails going forward for probably the next 5 weeks.
Yep.
So that everyone's aware of it. We don't want anyone coming in July and being like, wait, what happened to my points? Even though at that point it'd be like, well, you didn't come in like 3 months. So obviously your points expired. But yeah, letting everyone know April is the final month that you can redeem your points. So if you've been saving them up, April is the month to start spending them.
What an informative description that was.
Yeah. Hopefully it's easy to understand. I mean, it's
And you know what?
5% off.
Honestly, it's easier for us
It's very easy for
to
us.
maintain, and it saves us a couple of bucks a month because we don't have to pay for the
Yep.
Joy program anymore.
And do you know how much I'm going to enjoy that first Wednesday where I don't have to go, all right, now in your account you had 1,200 points, $5 off, $10 off, or do you want to save them up?
You know, I think I'm going to enjoy that even more
Mhm.
because I don't have to hear it either.
Nope.
Because every customer hears it once.
Uh-huh.
I hear it all day.
I hear it all day too. I hear it even the days I work by myself. I got to hear it.
Yep, that's fair. You hear it more than I do.
Yeah.
So if you are a subscriber who listens, who've been saving up your points, start using them.
Yes.
Or you're going to be losing them.
Yeah, but I mean, even if we have people who have thousands of points. If you have thousands of points, you can use them in a month.
Yeah.
Like the people who have accrued that many points didn't do it, coming in once a month.
Right.
Like that's people who come
Sure.
in every week, and those people will be fine. They will be able to spend those points over the next 5 weeks, and it will be good.
And while we're talking numbers,
Mhm.
we do have a rare, infrequent correction to make.
A slight correction.
Slight correction.
A very funny correction.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago on this very podcast, we talked about, not this very one, a different episode, but the same.
This very program,
We talked about how
February numbers,
February was so much lower than February of last year.
by an almost insane amount.
An amount that we could never imagine being possible.
Staggered the imagination.
Because it was an erroneous amount. There was a data error.
I think where this data error came to light was you and I were on the way to work Tuesday, and we were talking about the last week's worth of business, and we both had two somewhat different numbers in our head.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, it's way lower than you think, and I'm like, I feel like I checked it last night, like Monday night.
Okay, look, all this did happen,
Uh-huh.
but 4 weeks.
Uh-huh.
What I did on Tuesday when I said I want you to add these up, I've been meaning to do that with you for weeks.
Okay.
But remember I'd say these numbers don't match up. I don't get it.
Uh-huh.
And you'd be like, well, we can look at it, and we never did. But
Sure.
in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to have him do it one day without
Yeah.
seeing my numbers.
So basically there was a channel of our sales that was not being
Was it the English channel?
accounted for. It was in English, wasn't being accounted for every single week. Some weeks it was, some weeks it wasn't. And
So basically, the February numbers may have not had all of our online sales in the month we do our main sale.
yeah, specifically the week where we had the store-wide online sale where tons of people come out of the woodwork and spend hundreds of dollars a piece.
So the number that we were still down in February, and we were
It
down.
still wasn't good.
Yeah, but it
This
was
didn't swing it back into like, yay!
it was about $10,000 wrong.
Yes. The number was bad, and I'm sure that I say I'm sure, but I feel like the sale was probably also down a little bit, even if it wasn't down by thousands of dollars.
It was down by thousands of dollars, but not.
But not, yeah, it
Double
wasn't.
digits.
It wasn't like $8,000.
It was not.
So yeah, that the brief correction for anyone who was as
Stunned as we were.
shell shocked as Dell was, wasn't that bad. Bad wasn't that bad.
It's good that we can look at it and laugh and
It's an understandable bad.
not have it take away from the weeks of crushing despair
Yes.
that caused.
Oh yes.
But don't worry, there's always something else to take that despair's place.
Yeah, there's always something.
I just had one more thing and I lost it. I totally lost it. I can't remember what it was. It's terrible podcasting to be like, yeah, I wanted to say this one thing, but I forgot it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I want to note is that we don't have any new comics to talk about as far as previews that we read because nothing's really been given to us.
Yeah.
Which is a rare week. It's
I
probably
would
going to
like-
be one of those FOCs where there's just not a lot of new number ones, maybe?
Man, I got to tell you that earlier today I was doing the invoicing for the first week of April's books.
Yes.
And,
Oh, also, I did order the Uncanny 130 facsimile editions.
Oh,
I just also ordered not even the same number. So, Patrick, I'm going to tell a little story real quick. Speaking of data errors, I do the final order cutoffs for
yeah, it turns out not just me.
our PRH stuff, which includes Marvel. So Patrick was working weeks ahead at what was coming out, and he had pointed out to me that for some reason we were getting 10 copies of the Uncanny X-Men 130 facsimile edition poster, the poster of the original cover.
And this is the debut of Dazzler.
Yes, the Dazzler cover. And so I said, what probably happened is that when Dal was doing the FOCs, Dal put 10 in the field for Uncanny X-Men 130 facsimile edition poster, thinking it had said Uncanny X-Men number 130 facsimile edition. So Dal probably forgot to order the Uncanny X-Men 130 facsimile edition that we need probably for subscribers as well as for the shelf. No, I did both somehow.
Huh.
But here's the weird part. I did 10 for the poster, but I did 8 for the regular cover. So I don't know where 10 came from because it's not even the same number. I don't know what happened.
It wouldn't have been like 8 for the shelf and 2 for subscribers, something like that, right?
No,
that wouldn't.
No,
because it's automatically built in.
It's
That's not.
8, so for Uncanny 130 facsimile edition, I did 8 of the regular cover and 3 of the foil, and the foils are all special orders. So even that's 11. It's not 10. Like, I don't know where the 10 came from.
Weird.
So anyway, if anyone's a big fan of the Dazzler and wants a poster, good news, Challengers has you covered pretty much indefinitely.
I want you to know that not for a second did I think this was a Dal error. My first thought was, wow, do we have a subscriber who ordered like... Because we usually get like 3 Marvel posters per. Not that this is one I would have thought we ordered,
Nope.
but I assumed like... Did we have like somebody who wanted 7 copies of this poster?
If so, I would have told you that story by now. That would not have been a thing that you had to bring up to get me to spill on. No, I would say, oh my God, Patrick, somebody ordered 7 posters. Yeah, we're getting a bunch of Dazzler posters. I hope Taylor Swift's in that movie. Boy, I hope she is.
Then we'd be like, wow, Dal's thinking ahead.
Fingers crossed.
I want to mention briefly that it looks like there's been an algorithm change for Instagram because not only is our video engagement considerably down for our weekly videos based off of what they'd been doing
Old
just
guys
like a month
talking
ago.
about comics aren't trending anymore?
I mean,
Weird.
look, I never thought they'd do the numbers they did in the beginning,
Uh-huh.
and now they're doing a mere fraction of those. But I've seen other people like Jamil, talk about how
Complain
little
about the
engagement they
algorithm?
have.
Is it because they're prioritizing like shorts and stuff like that? Isn't shorts, is that their thing? Or am I thinking of YouTube?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Well, they prioritize reels, but ours are reels.
Yeah, everyone's just after that TikTok engagement, right?
Yeah, definitely. So our views are going down, but we have been getting fun comments from people in the industry.
That's cool.
This isn't that, but today, based off of our weekly email
That you did.
but I mean the one that the store sends out.
Sure. But you write and design it.
Sure.
You pick
Tony
the
Fleece
books.
responded with just emojis because he saw that we were highlighting Farrell. A couple of weeks ago, you had a comment on one of your videos from Tom King.
I think it was Helena Winhorn. I think it was that week.
Well, I don't remember what he said though.
I don't know. I would only know because you showed it to me, and I don't remember.
This week, I did my video first, and since I was wearing a bandana, I joked, "How was my hair?"
And
and
you
then-
suggested that joke to me,
And I suggest you do the same thing, right?
and I did.
Tom King commented on my video and said, "Your hair looks great,"
That's very kind of him.
right?
That's very kind of him.
And I said thank you. I was very self-conscious about it.
Yes.
Tom Kelly also said that Hobo Patrick wants to tell you about comics.
Okay.
I told him if he wants to meet me at the dumpster behind the 7-Eleven and bring some smokes, I'll tell him more about comics.
Nice.
There were other comments. Drew Troit said I looked like Vince McMahon when he got his head shaved.
Okay.
I don't know if it was because I don't remember if he was bleeding at the time or something or what it was.
So we mentioned Farrell's out this week.
Yeah.
Let me real quick. I'm going to look at the email to see if there was anything else from this week that I thought was worth noting. This isn't stuff people can pre-order, but it's definitely stuff you can go to Challengers and buy, or possibly.
X-Men 97 is out this upcoming week.
Yeah, I got to watch that first episode tonight.
Yeah, I'm
I
hearing
should
good
do
things
that.
about it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to watch it, but I hear good things.
there was a comment on some nerd website where like the review rating, like the aggregate review, is better than Avengers Endgame.
Wow.
So Farrell #1 for sure. X-Men 97 should be real fun. Yeah, I think that's the two big books as far as I would say this week, as far as what's coming in.
What was the second book that I put up?
Batman Dark Age.
Oh yeah, I read Batman Dark Age. I talked about it before. I really liked it
Cool.
because it's a Bruce Wayne who didn't like basically if the idea of a Spider-Man without learning the lesson of great power and great responsibility.
Mhm.
This is what if it's a Bruce Wayne who doesn't have the guilt of his parents' death.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's
Also in the futuristic Gotham society of tomorrow that never materialized.
Ooh. It's been a really good past few weeks for new books.
Yeah.
I know we talked about how we had in 1 week Helena Winhorn, I Heart Skullcrusher, and Batman Dylan Dog.
Which the people that are now coming around to Batman Dylan Dog, A, all love it, and B, we sold out.
And honestly, like my big book for the week was I Heart Skullcrusher, and not only have people been picking that up to a degree that we might need to reorder it, which is amazing to me considering what we ordered in.
We've already reordered Batman Dylan Dog, so
We have, it's true. And Helena Winhorn we just got back in this week as well.
yeah, it's going to a second print.
But then this past week we had, what was this week? I'm trying to remember.
Picture the front counter.
I can't. Go
Picture
on.
what goes there.
I can't.
The book of the week.
Uh-huh.
We all raved about it
We did.
because it's the best book as picked by two mans.
Man's Best. Man's Best #1. That was really good. And then there was another, I think there was something else this week that was almost like a highlighted book. I got to go to our website now to find out because I don't remember anything ever anymore. What is the pick of the week? So Man's Best sold really well.
That was also the pick of the week.
Was it going to be X-Men Forever? No, I don't know.
You should just go to the new release page.
That's what I'm doing.
No, I don't.
Dawn Runner. Dawn Runner was the other
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And Dawn Runner I had to reorder because that sold down really fast. But I was going to say with I Heart Skullcrusher, one of the really nice things is that it sounds like it's also doing well kind of in the industry,
Nice.
which is really cool because I always want these things to be successful beyond just Challengers. I don't want, because Challengers alone cannot sell enough copies of a book to make it viable for the creators or the publishers.
Correct.
Like, it's nice sometimes when we can champion a book that isn't necessarily like getting a ton of buzz or hype or whatever, or we can like be at the forefront of turning people on to a new series or a new creator. But yeah, man, I don't like the idea of like a book I really like at Marvel or DC getting canceled because we sold it great and no one else cared. Like I worry about that with She-Hulk every single month
Sure.
because She-Hulk does great for us. I love that book. Certainly since it's reunited the team behind Runaways, it's even better than it was before. But good God, do I assume that book is getting canceled every single month? Like I can see the store in Nevada that's ordering 3 copies of it for the shelf, and none for subscribers.
I worry about it because Charles Gorey is down for it, and he's got a history of subscribing to books that get canceled from Marvel.
Down for a lot of Marvel stuff.
I know.
Though.
It's law of averages. I get it. I get it. I also appreciate when someone's like, I really want to check this book out because I loved her work on the new Shazam.
Oh, Josie Campbell we're talking about now.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about She-Hulk for a second.
Oh, sorry. I went back to
Rainbow Rowell did that.
I went back to I Heart Smoke.
No, and it's great. And she's also got the My Adventures of Superman that's going to be coming out.
Yep.
That's orderable soon, very soon. The new subscriber email will be going out in about a week. We're just waiting for some data to finish going in, and then it goes.
Yeah,
out
I realized that logging on to Lunar Day, like all the new catalogs are up.
Yeah.
I haven't started ordering yet because it's it's not due till next week.
Right. But the print catalogs, I think, are coming in this week. I know they are for DC. I think they are for Marvel. Could be wrong.
All of them.
Yeah,
and
okay.
IDW.
Well, IDW comes out at the same time as Marvel because they ship in the same way from PRH.
Oh, man. So the first week of April, not only are we getting the bundles of the new Marvel must-haves for the month, we're also getting...
Which is so weird because it's like Daredevil, something Cap, and then like Uncanny Avengers #1?
Yeah. Why
are you doing a Fall of the House of X or a Fall of X tie-in thing? Like, the line's over.
Yeah.
By the time that thing's coming out.
Also, at the same time, we're getting, inexplicably, 9 bundles of the Planet of the Apes book.
I didn't order that. Well, there's a Planet of the Apes movie coming out in May, so I guess that makes sense. May 10th.
Okay. And the bundles are...
The only way this stuff ever gets supported at a publisher level for promotion is if there's another media tie-in to invoice it to.
The bundles are only 20 copies per.
Okay. They sent us a lot of copies of the first Marvel must-have, and we're going to be throwing a lot of them out because
recycling is what he means.
Yeah, I'll be throwing them in the recycling dumpster that the city of Chicago then puts in a regular dumpster.
Yes.
Yeah, people have taken them, but Jesus, I mean, we literally can't give the book away fast enough. If they're going to be doing these every month, I feel like they need to be sending us less, please.
Yeah, we don't ask for quantities. They just assign them.
Yep. Whatever quantity, whatever formula they had internally to come up with a quantity for the first one.
Too high.
Cut it in half.
What if they take the amount of money they're spending on their print costs for those and reduce some cover prices?
Yep. Or maybe take half of those and make them new #1s that you're shipping for the month and give me those for free instead.
Ooh.
Do that.
Whoa.
Instead of reprinting old comics that are not being snapped up by people.
Well, Dal, once again, you've given us all something to think about until next week. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.